Well, folks, the Farewell Welcome to Wrathe drafts are about 1 week away, and many of us in the Flesh and Blood world are headed out hoping to grab our favorite WTR hero in cold foil. You know who I'm going for right there. Now, I'll be honest, the thought of this being our last time drafting the set is kind of heartbreaking. Now, note, it doesn't have to be your last time. There's product out there for sure, but you get what I'm saying. And as such, I want this to be a positive and memorable experience for all of us. Now, many content creators, seemingly everyone under the sun, has done their own WTR draft guide over the last couple of weeks. Lots of good players, lots of great advice. So why listen to my video? Why? Because I think I have a different take. And my hot take, which, by the way, I believe shouldn't be that hot of a take, but yet I haven't heard repeated, can be summed up with this. From where I sit in a WTR draft, you are not drafting the heroes, you're drafting the weapons. So today I'm giving my spin on how to approach your Welcome to Wrathe draft for a successful weekend to leave you with the best memories of the best set of Flesh and Blood. A huge shout out to our channel members for supporting what we do here. If you want to get involved with the channel and the Dice Commando community, please consider joining as a channel member. Remember, these videos are only possible with your support. You can show that support with a like, a subscribe, and by leaving us a comment and sharing your feedback. Community first, and go Commando. Hey there, Flesh and Blood folks. Welcome back to Dice Commando, and go again, a fabulous cast for my WTR drafting advice. Now, before we get started, from me to you, I honestly hope that your final Welcome to Wrathe draft is one that you finally pull that L that you've been waiting for, right? That legendary you've been looking for. Unless, of course, you're drafting from the same case that I am, in which case I wish you lots of foil commons. Look, I love you guys, but I need my tunic, okay? Oh, all joking aside, right? Good luck to everyone with your pulls. It'll be super awesome to see, the guy who needs the tunic, like myself, pulling it from those packs. Now, I grant that the Farewell to Welcome to Wrathe events aren't until next weekend. That said, I waited as long as I could to release this episode because, well, Everfest spoiler season starts here just in a few hours from the time of release of this video. And then once that happens, the internet's, no one's going to be focused on this type of stuff, right? So now is the time, right? It's better to do this while eyes are still on the prize. Now, what's the prize? Fair enough, depend on your LGS. At least we're all, capped at 16, going to get 16 cold foils. Everybody's leaving with something, which I think just makes it all that much better, right? So to me, the prize is having a damn good time in draft this next weekend. Maybe you can get that L, like I said, as long as it's not from the same case that I am, but we're all joking, right? So before we get into this, I do want to give a shout out to our sponsor, which is FabDB. You guys know that I believe it's the best resource we have on the web for Flesh and Blood. And, speaking specifically to Welcome to Wrathe, if you're looking to get full knowledge of the set before going in, especially if you haven't drafted at length before, you can always go into their collection thing and you can do searches. You can search by set, you can search by class, you can search generics, look at how everything goes in together. Remember, if you search by class, it'll also pull up, or you can search by class and generics, and look at the whole potential pool together. So a hands down best available tool we have as Fab players, and you know what, add it to your arsenal. So now what's truly interesting about, or what I think is interesting about the Farewell to Welcome to Wrathe drafts is that there's a fair amount, I'd arguably say a large amount of the community that hasn't actually done it before, right? There's been everybody wants to draft the new sexy, right? A lot of people came in at Monarch, drafted the snot out of Monarch, drafted the snot out of ELE. A lot of people haven't actually drafted WTR before. Now, I was fortunate to be on this from day one, and our LGS, Gongai, in an effort to get people into the game, we actually did a lot of drafts, right? More so than constructed back in the day because we were trying to bring new peoples in. Now, my buddy Nathaniel and I realized how #Amazeball's drone was back then Unlimited, and granted that has since been banned, but I have some serious reps with this, have a lot of fond memories of this, and I kind of wanted to throw, like I said, tonight, my hat in the ring and give my advice for how to approach it. And as I mentioned in the intro, my piece of advice is this. You're not drafting the heroes. You're drafting the weapons. Right, and that's not, all that groundbreaking of a statement, I believe, because if you look at the hero abilities by and large, with the exception of Bravo maybe, it's very hard and limited where you have a limited card pool to trigger said hero abilities, right? So instead, I believe very firmly that success in WTR draft is setting up your weapon, setting up your using your deck to set your weapon up for success, more so than trying to necessarily pull off a combo or do something crazy. That's not to say that if you can't stab twice with Dorinthea and put a counter on, you wouldn't. That's not to say that if you can't, tutor something with Katsu, that you wouldn't do that to pull off a great combo, or crush with Bravo, or so on, right? That's not to say that you wouldn't do that if you can, but in terms of consistency, in terms of going in with a game plan, I firmly believe that what you need to do is actually chase after your weapons, right? So let's take a second to remind ourselves what these weapons do. Shouldn't be a secret to anybody. Dawnblade is a 1-for-3. That's what Dawnblade does. It doesn't really do anything else, right? It gets counters if you swing again, but that's very ability dependent. Romping Club is 2-for-4. That's very, very, very effective. Anathos is 3-for-4 or 3-for-6 if you can pitch correctly. Remember, you can always pitch to Bravo, even if you don't have something to feed, to help feed Anathos. Anathos is very, very strong in this format. And you also have those damn Kadachis, right? Stab, stab. All you need is a 0. Could be a yellow, could be a blue, right? Very, very, very strong. Right, so on top of that, now that we're talking about the weapons, that immediately feeds into kind of the 50% break, if you want to call it, on what's there for the card pool. You have the attack reactions. One of them, Pummel. One of them, Razor Reflex. Razor Reflex feeds Dorinthea and Katsu, Dawnblade and Kadachi. Kadachi in this case. Pummel feeds Bravo Rhinar, Anathos, and the club, right? Now, these are great in all pitches, right? Blue pitches are never a bad thing, especially on the Pummel side when you're going to have more expensive cards. Blue pitches are never a bad thing. I would argue that, maybe a blue Razor is not the best thing in the world, right? Red Razor, if you were to compare the two, red Pummel, all Pummels are good. Red and yellow Razors are probably more apt than blue Razor, to be completely fair. Especially because, right, if you want, we'll talk about it in a second, but you want those zeros for the Kadachis for obvious reasons. And blue Razor's not really going to get you there as much, right? Because you want that 0 in the pitch zone. On top of that, I would be remiss to not note in terms of the, pack one, pick one, which tends to be the best focus of this, of your defense reactions in the set. Sink Below is probably, it's a hard call on whether to pull a red Pummel, a red Razor, or a Sink Below. If it's honestly your pack one, pick one, you probably go Sink. Probably, because it's more generic. And once you go Pummel, you've committed to 2. Once you go Razor, you've pretty much committed to 2. And so on. Unmovables are always good, especially freaking blue unmovable for Bravo, right? But unmovable, stick it in Arsenal. You can take a huge hit and swing back, clap back hard. Not a bad deal. All right, and then, it's one of the things you need to remember in doing the draft is one of the lesser, it's kind of funny, right? Because taking equipment, it's sexy. It's also not sexy because it doesn't, taking equipment is great because it's going to be, for the most part, generically usable. On the other hand, it's just not, it's not sexy, right? Because it doesn't progress your game plan, quote unquote. So what do I think my favorite equipment picks are? I mean, don't get me wrong, picking up any piece of equipment that actually defends gets you 1 health. And just to put it into perspective, right, into real perspective, picking up any Iron Rot increases your health by 1, right? Going from 20 to 21, that is a 5% increase on your health. That is not insignificant, right? If you actually start doing the math and thinking about it, 1 health, 5%, right? Just for picking up 1 card. And those Iron Rots can go on anybody, right? But in terms of usefulness, progressing your game plan, you look at Heart and Cross Strap, helps for the most part, Guardian Brute. There are a couple, sure, there's generics out there that can go in any deck, but for the most part, you're going to be looking at that for Guardian Brute. Goliath Gauntlet also for Guardian Brute on the hands, right? Because it's going to be 2 or greater. Those two go very well together. Good luck getting them both, but it could happen. Snappies can go for really anyone. Cards like, your 0/4s are always attractive pulls. Snatches, your Scar for Scar. So Scar for Scar could potentially have it on its own, but right, a 0 or less. So anyone really will take Snappies. unless, of course, you're running Thea, right? If you get the Refraction Bolters, or if you plan on running Thea, you're going to want the Refraction Bolters. Equipment's always obviously a strong pick, should be one of your earlier picks, also because most of it's generically applicable, right? So it leaves you a little flexibility for the later pick. So I don't want to dismiss equipment at all. Please don't take it that way. But I do think there are more important cards. I personally think there are more important cards to pull before your equipment, because the cards we already talked about, the defense reactions, the attack reactions, are, in my opinion, really the key to the set, because remember, we were playing our weapons. All right, so before we go into the actual thing by hero, what I want to talk about just very, very, very briefly is the pack configuration, right? So you get 4 generic commons and you get 7 class commons, right? The rest is basically not under your control. You obviously have the 1 equipment in there. We understand that, but the premium foil slot can be anything. The rare can be anything. I mean, it's rare or whatever, but the rare Super Majestic can be anything in terms of class. So what you're really looking at overall, if you look at this, roughly half your pack on average is not roughly, I mean, basically half your pack on average is going to be generics, right? So that's going to be a lot of your focus, is kind of building out the basics of this. And you need to realize that when things are going around, people are going to be, for the most part, at least early, grabbing the generics more often. Then we already talked about it, sinks, unmovables, stuff like that. That's what's going to go early before we dive deep into classes, okay? And again, by pack 2, pack 3, you're going to know for the most part what class you're going with. So you want to stay open early and specialize later, right? No secret there, right? No different than ELE or anything else that you guys have drafted. So for the remainder of this video, what I want to do is go through each individual hero and, of course, their associated weapon, as we've been talking about. Talk about what you're specifically going to be look for at large, not only within class, but also the generics, and kind of your path to victory with that hero. So let's go ahead and start with my girl Dorinthea. Her set points, right? Her points of interest within WTR are her swing again cards, right? So you just need to accept you're not going to be able to consistently keep. You're not going to. That's not true. I was going to say you're not going to be able to consistently keep it on. You're not going to be able to consistently put a counter on, but by and large, once you get one on, as long as you're focusing heavily on swinging, you probably will be able to keep that on. And you know what? Even if they just dump their hand, remember, fatigue's a thing in draft, right? Fatigue is very much a thing. So, you obviously want to have the counter to make them get to that 4 spot for one, but either way, it costs them something. So, all right. So her swing again cards are important because remember her ability, right, is on hit. She gets to go again, or she doesn't get to go again. She gets to swing again if you have go again, right? She gets swing again if you have go again. But the keys to making that happen are Driving Blade, which is a common. The problem with Driving Blade is it's a 2-drop into your swing and then a swing again, which means it's 4 total. So you do have to set up for that. Generally, you're going to have Driving Blade in Arsenal when you do that for kind of your big turn. Also, remember with Driving Blade, just because it gives go again, you still have to hit, right? So it's a good card, especially in this format, but you have to make sure you're set up for it. We also have Warrior's Valor. Now, this is a rare. This is also, it's a, in its red form, it's a +3/2/1, go again on hit. Now, it's a 1, which means you only have to have a blue pitch. It sets you up for that perfect 3. Now, one card that's going to be super awesome utility for you here is Flock of the Featherwalkers, right? Remember, if you play that correctly, it poops out the token, which then you can use for that on a hit in the future turn. Then we do have Glint the Quicksilver, but that is a Majestic, so there's an excellent chance you're not even going to see that in your draft pool at large. Now, attack reactions are going to be largely a part of how you deal your damage with Dorinthea. We have Stroke, which is a common. We have Iron Song Response, which is a common. Remember, that one's the reprise one, so you can only play it if they've defended from hand. Be very careful about that. We have Razor Reflex, as mentioned. We also have Overpower, which is a rare. It's pretty strong, but it's expensive. So, again, it's kind of one of those have to set it up type things. It also gets the extra bonus on reprise, and to be honest, it's kind of only worth paying for if you get the reprise. So you have to be kind of careful how you use it there. So Dorinthea's keys to victory are, hey, let's be honest, like I mentioned before, you're going to be kind of hard up to get reliable swing again cards. So your attack reactions are really your way to punch through reliable damage. So try to use them as your path to victory. And what I mean by that is don't use them all early. Now, a lot of the good ones you're going to pull are going to be 1 to 3s. They're not necessarily stuff you're going to pitch. I get that. So I don't necessarily mean path to victory, save them all for the end, but remember what you're going to do is use them to force use them early, use one or two early, make your opponent get into that headspace where they have to overblock, which means they're fatiguing cards. I love having one of those in Arsenal, or at least make your opponent think that there's one in Arsenal, right? And then you can use it to go over the top on those turns when you can get that second swing and get that counter on. Because once that counter goes on, things are very, very much in your favor. All right, next, let's talk Katsu. So his set points, he's looking for a blue pitch 0 cost, and he's looking for a ton of them, right? Attacks, class, and generics. Yellow zeros will do in a pinch, right? If you're drafting successfully, you will have opportunities to get 0/4s. They are out there, right? There are 3 generic 0/4s within the set, 2 commons and 1 rare. Grab attacks also with built-in Go Again, Scar for a Scar, Head Jab, and Leg Tab. He has there are 1-drop decent attacks out there. Also, Flock of the Feathered Walkers again, and do accept that, right? Katsu's ability is unless you get pretty good drafts, Katsu's ability is kind of not great in Limited, right? It's going to be very hard to get consistent combos set up in Limited and be able to pull what you need. But definitely grab Razor Reflex. Again, that's very early in your packs. So his in your picks, excuse me. So his path to victory is stab, attack, and defend, right? In most cases, Katsu's the master of the 2-card hand, right? He needs a blue or yellow 0, and he can stab, attack, and he can fatigue like a champ with that Kodachi lock, because at the end, right near the end of the game, they're going to have to block, and then you're just gonna keep stabbing. Right, moving on to everybody's favorite big guy, Bravo. Is he the star of the show? I think he may be. He is. It's not about Bravo, right? I mean, to be fair, Bravo is one of the few heroes whose ability can be used very consistently to win games, right? Set up that crush for the end. But Bravo with Anathos, right? Looking for a blue 3-pitch cost, whether it's an attack, within class, or generic, it doesn't matter. You're going to want to grab those. There's stuff out there like Slogism, all that sort of stuff. They offer a lot of opportunities for you to grab those blue 3s as you may need them. You're also going to grab defense like a champ, right? Remember, he has access to Staunch Response, which may make itself around the table because it is a Guardian card. Grab that sucker, right? Unmovable as well, like we talked about. I also don't want you to stress if you don't get a big crush. If one comes around, jump on that like it's hot. But if you don't get one, it's not the end of the world, right? There are plenty of other cards out there in the Bravo world that are very, very good crush cards, right? Even if you only get the blue or yellow versions. But I'm not saying, my point is you don't need a crippling crush to think that you're going to win the draft, but it ain't going to hurt. And then, of course, you're going to grab any and all pummels that come around the table. So your path to victory here is very, very simple. Anathos is arguably the best weapon. You're going to hammer defend, pummel if you can set it up. You are going to try and set up a nice dominate for the win. And remember, do not forget, you can always pitch to Bravo for no effect to create 6 on the hammer if that's what comes up, if that's the opportunity that presents itself. Right, closing out is Rhinar. Now, disclaimer, in my drafts, I have drafted the previous 3 heroes before. I have never personally drafted and played Rhinar. I have never also lost to Rhinar, right? So, however, there's been several situations in which I've been very, very scared of him. Now, from my personal playstyle, I don't like the way he plays. It doesn't fit my personal playstyle. That said, he is one scary MFer because of barraging beatdown, right? One of the things you need to remember is a lot of people are, from my experience, I've seen a lot of people steer away from running Rhinar in it, which means that generally his card pool's a little better for you. Barraging beatdown is no joke, right? It will close out your game. He also has he's going to take a lot of hits with trying to do what he wants to do. I think Scar for a Scar is a great pull for him. I mean, most people are going to grab Scar for a Scar if they can anyway, but you get it. Now, he has some key class cards that work really well for him. Smash Instinct, Pack Hunt, Primeval Bellow, and Wrecker Romp. I mean, they're all very, very good cards. Now, Pack Hunt, there's a 3. The rest of, Primeval Bellow is a yellow, but the rest of them are 2. A lot of his attacks, including his club, are 2. So yellow pitches in this case are your friend. So, and again, no secret there. We already talked about it. Grab any and all pummels that come your way. Rhinar's path to victory is that what you want to do
is you want to try and use your barragings to pitch early, right? What you want is to try and set up a barraging club turn, right? To take them over the top at the end. It's going to intimidate if you can set up the barraging, but it's limited, right? Don't set your sights too high. But, the club only costs 2, so you can barraging from arsenal, barraging, pitch something. You could even have blocked. That's going to close out a lot of games if you can set it up, right? So I think generally that's going to be your play. Don't stress about trying to trigger the Rhinar ability. If you can use it, more power to you. But remember, you're going to be a little more card limited, and trying to have a pitch card, have the play card, and have a discard card that's also a 6, that might be a little too restrictive with what you're trying to do. So, like I said, don't stress too much about that. Kind of club away, try to set up, defend, and then come over the top with one big old barraging beatdown. That is my advice for how to play the guy. So, anyway, that's my take. We've run through all the heroes. I'm really looking forward to next weekend. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. Pulls up, nostalgia is always a thing, right? Isn't that why Star Wars is still going these days? But it's going to be a great time next weekend. Also, everybody's going to be talking about spoilers and just hanging out and having a good time. And it's going to be, pseudo competitive, and I can't wait. So anyway, folks, let me know what you're looking forward to. Do you agree? Do you disagree with kind of my talking points here? Yeah, let me know what you're thinking. Let me know what you're looking forward to. Also, in the comments below, but let me know what hero do you want, right? There's four cold foils out there. You see these folks. Right over here. I'm taking all the Theas. So what's left for you guys? Which one are you going for this weekend? So anyway, folks, thank you very much for tuning in. I want to remind everybody, of course, as you're looking forward to making your Everfest pre-orders, Gungai is taking pre-orders. You can always check them out. Code Commando10 at checkout for 10% off your purchase. And also, once the set drops, Travis over at Fab Foundry, he's going to hook you up with your singles. You can use that code below. I get a little kickback from that. You get singles, I get singles, and everybody wins. So anyway, folks, thank you very much for tuning in. Have a great time this upcoming weekend. I'll be here all this week for spoiler videos. And if nothing else, go Commando.